So yeah, I'm 28. I'm old. I'm kind of. I don't know, but I feel older. I don't know. But no, we went on a little trip to New York. That was a lot of fun. So no kids yet. All of that. It's just we're able to still do it. So, but it was fun. I had no clue what I was doing. She was awesome with public transportation and organizing it all. So yes, sorry. I want to brag about my wife, but yes. So, but no, pleasure to have you guys here today. Let's begin in a brief word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time. Help us to enjoy the springtime moments in our lives, particularly as they pertain to marriage, as we explore that today. Bless our time, Lord. Bless the conversations that happen, and help us throughout it all to be aimed more toward you and the incredible love that you show to each and every one of us. In your holy name, we all pray. Amen. Very good. So we've been married for 6 months now, so we're here to tell you how to have the perfect marriage because we're experts now. That's not the goal of today at all. We're learning all of it. I'm always learning. But the goal of today is to help illustrate the different seasons of marriage, particularly the season that we're focusing on is spring. Last week was winter, and the other seasons will come in turn and then focus on good ways to help change marriage to, be in the good seasons in spring and in summer. Now, and every marriage, they go through different steps, different phases. They're never static. They're always moving. They're always in a state of transition, continually moving from one season to another. One moment, you're having a great time. You go out to a nice dinner, and then at another time, you forget to take off your shoes right after your spouse swept the floor or something like that. And that can change quickly on a dime. I saw some looks. I feel some looks, but yes. But no, those are different things that can change a little bit during different seasons of marriage. But for today, we'll be focusing on spring, which especially thinks about new beginnings. But as we talk about marriage, as we talk about life as Christians, spring. That's a beautiful picture. Was that you that picked that out?
No.
Oh, okay. But no, it's a good one. Yeah. So spring, you got lots of new life, new growth, new things happening, all of that. But yes. So now let me start off with a question for you guys here today. So when we think about marriage, when we think about relationships, there's a key word that comes probably to all of our minds. Group discussion. What is love?
I would say caring about someone more than yourself. Yeah. Or the striving. Yeah. Ideally, it's caring about someone more than yourself.
Caring about someone more than yourself. Great answer. Yeah.
And the long-term commitment.
Long-term commitment. Excellent.
Right. Yeah. Ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows.
Not love, but the success of keeping that other person in.
Oh, man. No, those are great answers. Anyone else have any others?
It's a choice.
It's a choice. Yeah. Does that choice happen daily? Hourly?
Some days.
Yep.
Days it's easy, some days it's not.
Absolutely. It's a daily choice. That's good. Anyone else? Yeah.
Well, and it's caring about someone through it all. Good times, bad times, the okay times, the boring times, the fun times, like all of it.
Sounds like marriage vows a little bit right there. That's kind of that's good. That's real, and that's where I'm going with it. Yeah. Anyone else have anything else to offer?
I think it's shown through action.
Shown through action. Absolutely. Yeah. Actions are a great determinant of where our heart is. And yeah, the way you act helps to explain, well, what are you actually believing? What are you actually loving? What are you actually trusting? Actions are a big part of who we are as Christians, and definitely are a big part of who we are as, well, married people. I think we're mostly married. Yeah, so, and that's okay. Not we're all learning. But yeah. So, anyone else?
What is it, Webster's? I was just telling Jill, it's interesting. I've never thought about what's the definition of love.
Sure. No, you're good. So I don't know what Webster's definition is. If someone wants to use their Google machines and look it up, I wouldn't say no. But Google machine, I don't know. I just quit that now. I'm proud of it. Anyway, but a lot of our world today likes to think of love as a feeling, like getting caught up all in the feels and enjoying, and everything is blissful and beautiful and everything is great. And you have spring, it's all sorts of happiness, new life, new everything. I don't want people to think love is that, and you guys are all indicating that. Now, there's the feelings sometimes good. Yeah, don't deny those feelings when they come up. But that's not what any relationship should be built on. A relationship, one that's found in love, is commitment, because once that spring slowly fades away and all that, and well, different things come up, different problems, different annoyances, different grievances, that will quickly fade away. But sometimes in spring, we can get caught up in all the feelings that happen in any given time. But today, commitment is definitely a good word for love. And as Tara pointed out, with the different language that was similar to vows language, that's where I want to go. Most marriages start in spring, and the vows themselves, I want you to think as very springtime words. Like, you can't say that if you're not in spring. I take you to have and to hold from this day forward, in sickness and in health, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, to love and to cherish, till death do us part. Till death us do part. And a little flip of words there, but that's okay. But with all that, I mean, the commitment, the action that happens in spring, I want to define spring as, the starting of new habits, new relationships, everything coming into a new state of being. And the things that happen after that new state of being, they're often really, really exciting. For those of you who've been married a long time, that first month or two afterwards, wasn't it ridiculous in the best of ways? I don't know. All the different things, the different joys, the different celebrations. There was some irritation, I'm sure, but like all the different joys that come with a new season of marriage. There's joy in it. There's love in it. There's all this great things that come from it. And it all comes from this commitment that starts at the very beginning of marriage. Now, some people write their own vows. I have nothing against that. I really like these. We spoke these. I don't know. I think it's very good encompassing what a marriage is supposed to be. And it helps to begin. It helps to formulate spring. And once again, spring, and even if you've been married a long time, spring does not necessarily mean to start at the beginning of marriage. I hope it does, and all of that. But you can always, of course, fluctuate throughout the times of marriage, but it typically comes with having the right emotions, the right attitudes, and the right actions, especially starting new habits, new ways of thinking. They often will make it so, well, good things tend to happen, if that makes sense. So, having the right emotions, right attitudes, and actions make all the difference. Emily, my amazing wife, will be talking about the right emotions and right attitudes. If you guys want to keep score in your scorecards here, love is commitment is the first blank, and then feel free to take notes as you see fit. But we'll be going over the right emotions, the right attitudes, and the right actions. So, yeah, take it away, honey.
Thank you. So to get us started with the emotions of springs, talk to your neighbors, talk to your spouses about what are some of the key emotions you would define in a spring marriage. Think a lot about those flourishing times. Maybe think back to the first couple weeks or months of your marriage. What were the primary emotions that you felt? Go. All right, so what are some of the days or the emotions that you primarily felt? We're going to see if we can get any of them off our list. Anyone got anything? Heard happiness was thrown around. Excitement, yeah, that's a great one.
We have your list, but I would add anticipation.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Anticipation for what?
Like, you're excited. You're excited for the other person to come home or to get home, or, there's a lot of excitement to do things, and you don't have necessarily like the struggle of like, like figuring it out logistics later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all attitude. It's like I was telling her, like I remember those first few months of like teaching at school. And it's like, yay, I get to go home to Jill. We're gonna cook dinner. Like that was exciting, you know. And yeah, but it's the exact same thing now. Still coming home, we're still cooking dinner, but you know.
And that is a very important factor in learning about the springs of marriage and learning about the entire cycle of marriage is that your marriage will take on different cycles. It'll go through ups and downs, as we kind of talked about. The love should remain constant, but it'll go through up and down seasons. And so one of the big things that's also discussed in the emotions
of spring is a time of rediscovery. And it's not just saying that, you know, you have to feel the spring emotions when you're 6 months married, or you have to feel it, you know, a year later, but it may be 10, 20 years later. It'll fluctuate, and it's all about finding that time of rediscovery. So, since we already know everything that's going to be on this slide, go ahead and throw them all up there. So a lot of these emotions, we probably all have felt them, and we probably waxed and waned through a lot of these. But we also know, as Pastor already spoke about, that our emotions don't entirely rule our marriage. Our emotions, we can kind of think of them as kind of a guide. Sorry, this is the psychologist in me coming out, but they kind of come out as a guide. They offer things that can point us to maybe something that we felt, maybe something that we did, and a reaction to that. However, they're not our entire basis of how we make our decisions, and we know that. And so the next section that we're going to talk about is attitude, and attitude is that middle ground between our feelings and then between our responses. And so we've talked a lot about the responses of love, that you can choose to feel the love that day, you can choose to love your spouse even when it's hard and they leave their shoes around the apartment. Not targeted whatsoever. But the attitude is the commitment to choose the more positive route. So let's look at the attitudes of spring. I think you guys already have all of these, so we'll throw them up there as well. A lot of the attitudes, as we've already talked about, is it's a generally positive time. However, with that, we can also choose different attitudes that we have. One of the big ones that they talk about in the book is the attitude of gratitude. It's a mouthful, I know. But the focus of it is showing that one is under obligation to be thankful and to be obligated to thank. And so a lot of you have talked about the expectation of wanting your spouse to come home, the expectation of what is to come next. And so you also in this season have the gratitude to show that mutual feeling of respect. And so kind of actually looking at, I'm going to take the nerd answer from Pastor really fast. The Greek word actually uses this really closely in association with prayer. Does anyone have a Bible open by chance? Oh, look at that. You guys all came so prepared. Sorry, I'm used to teaching 5th and 6th grade, so as you can tell, like, because they're a different crowd for me. Can anyone read for me Philippians 4:6?
Conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.
And while Paul was specifically talking to the church at this time, this also applies to our marriages. Our marriages should be one of those seasoned with salt, seasoned with the flavor of goodness and the gratitude to make sure that we are showing that thankfulness to our spouse. And it also shows the most clear vision of God strengthening our marriages through the intervention of prayer. Prayer is a very powerful motivator, a very powerful guide for a lot of our marriages. Good. Yes, did I have the wrong one? What do we got?
It is, I'm not sure what that is. Do not be anxious, right? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I write down the wrong one?
Oh,
Get ready.
well, it's a really good verse.
I know. It's even more embarrassing I didn't catch that.
No, it's okay. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, be by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God.
There we go. There's our prayer. So there's our prayer that is also very important in our marriage, is making sure that, again, you're praying on behalf of your spouse, which is, again, showing that gratitude, showing the love and the obligation. While we know that the Bible often talks about the hierarchies, so to speak, of marriage, that we know God is at the top, our husbands, and then wives, there is a joint respect that is happening there in the obligation to serve one just as Christ has served us. The second attitude is then the anticipation. We've all kind of hinted at that we are expecting something to come. We are expecting the new beginnings. One of the things from the book talked about is changed is perceived as an opportunity for new beginnings. So again, as your marriage is taking a change, whether you're rediscovering the springtime feelings or you've just gotten married and you're rediscovering and discovering even for the first time, all of those amazing opportunities and the beginnings. And so again, the attitude often is what you can transition your focus to. And it can either become one of negative, it can become one of positive that will then either grow or, what's the word I'm thinking of? Wither your marriage. There we go. So there's a lot of different attitudes that you can have in this time. And so again, choosing the positive one. So we are then going to move on to our last one. Oh, look, it's already on there. Trust, which is again that faithfulness and that confidence. And ultimately, we're not just looking at our spouse to be the entire source of our confidence, we are ultimately looking to God. So, for a group discussion question, what is the importance of an attitude focused on reflecting Jesus in a springtime marriage? What does that look like?
I feel like for us, like being newly married too, kind of looking towards next steps and, starting a family and what does that look like? So I think bringing Jesus into those decisions as well. Absolutely.
Talk about prayer. Is a powerful motivator to do that?
I think forgiveness comes really easy in this season.
And self-sacrificing too. I think, if you're talking about qualities of Jesus, that's huge. And so, putting that other person's, wants and needs before yourself. And if they're doing the same, then you'll strike a balance there of, still watching football games and me, baking or doing something. Maybe that wasn't. But yeah, that's self-sacrifice.
Oh, that's really good. That's again, that same self-sacrifice that Christ has done for all of us so that we can have that forgiveness that we can offer to our spouses. And not just to our spouses in our relationships, but to our family, to our friends. We have the
Grace to give that will then flourish all of our relationships. Anyone else have anything to add?
So if you're focused on Jesus and, the Christian perspective, that when you have those positive feelings as well as those negatives, like it's not necessarily only rooted in the way that your spouse acts towards you, or, you can be just as happy, as that's your main focus versus codependent, I guess, on how your spouse is feeling at the time. Yeah, that's a good groundwork. It's a good framework to then lead everything else from, because you have kind of that already built on that foundation.
Someone else raised their hand?
No, Carol was, so go ahead.
So I know Paul talks a lot in his books about like Christ in the church and the reflection of marriage and Christ in the church. And I'm guessing it's because Paul was single, but either way, if you want to look at how you're supposed to love your spouse, I would say, look at how Christ loves the church. Like that's supposed to be.
Yeah, and that was actually a great segue, and I will let Pastor talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. Hey, was there a hand over here?
Yeah, please, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that like welcoming Jesus in your marriage, I feel makes it easier to actually choose those attitudes and to kind of, when you're having those feelings of negativity or stress or anxiety, to let them go easier and move back into the positive.
Lay that on. Yeah, that's great.
All right, before we move on, in this transition point between attitudes and action, I'm going to go over a framework. I think I put it up on the board a couple times here, but I'm going to do it again because I think it's good. But it really is going to
Focus on this word right here, trust. I should not have actually tapped the screen. My bad. I'm smart, I promise. Sometimes. All right, so what do you guys think of when you think of the word trust?
Al,
Foundational.
foundational. What was it? Respect. That's a great word. Yeah. Anything else?
The ability to count on.
Ability to count on, that's good. Yeah, reliable. Reliable, yeah, dead on, nice. I'll go once. That's bad for anything else. Not again.
Truth, honesty.
Truth, honesty, yeah. Yeah, the ability to rely on someone else, absolutely. Yeah, truth, honesty. Their reputation is, well, they're a person of their word. They're a person of integrity, dead on, yeah. Did you know that trust, actually, well, it's up there. Trust, faith, and belief. They all come from the exact same word in the Greek, believe it or not. What's the word? It's pistuo.
That's jargon. I don't know. I think it's cool. But basically, the key thing is that, like, when we talk about faith, when we talk about believing in Jesus, what's being expressed there is trust. Now, if we trust in Jesus well, we're going to be able to trust in other people's well. Other people well. I can enunciate, I promise. Or I might just need more coffee. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, so as we talk about trust and trusting other people, a problem that might happen is that our highest values, if it's not in Jesus, we end up putting it in something else. And a common example of that might be marriage. We might instead put a spouse on a pedestal instead and have that as the thing that we trust in the most. What's the problem of that?
We're human. We're sinners. I'm an idiot. I know that much. Yeah, we're all sinners.
We all mess up. The importance is that knowing that, well, who we are to trust in above all else, and who do we get our trust from? Who do we get all things good from? And that spills into our other relationships. How many of you guys ever heard the word righteousness before?
Raise your hand. Anyone? Yeah. Who can give me a definition for righteousness? Worthy. That's good. That's a good word. Righteousness. What's that?
Blameless.
Blameless. That's good. That's an aspect that I think is good. I'm going to go a different way with it, but yeah, absolutely. Righteous. Yeah, blameless.
Deserving.
Deserving. Yeah. Yeah. So, when I think of righteousness,
I think of a right relationship, something rightly ordered. Now, if you're a car guy, I think of a Chevy small block V8, actually. I got a chuckle. I'll take it. So anyway, but it is something that is intricate. It's an engine, in case you guys don't know, but it's a kind of engine, and like it operates in a precise way, exactly the way its creator designed it to be. You have all these different moving parts, all these different mechanisms, all working together in tandem to produce something truly amazing. And that's what God does with each and every one of you. He has two ways, primarily, that he operates with us being righteous, how to operate in a proper way. Another way to think of it is a right relationship, a right standing, the right way that we are to operate in our world today. I'm going to draw on the whiteboard. So, there are two primary ways for righteousness. One is vertical. It's the relationship between God and us. That's me. That's my little stick figure me. There you go. Then you have outward. And let me dig into this one a little bit. This relationship between God and us, it's all about what God gives to each and every one of us. What are some examples of what God gives us?
what does God give you?
Love.
Love. Great. Dead on. What else?
Grace, mercy.
Grace, mercy, food, shelter. Dead on. Yeah. Anything else? Forgiveness. The word I'm going to go with here is everything. But yes, forgiveness, life, salvation, mercy, forgiveness, all of it. God is the highest value
of our lives, and he gives us all good things, primarily through the person and work of Jesus. He is the one that is able to give us all good things. Through him, all blessings flow, and we're able to act righteously through him. Now, forgiveness, grace, and mercy, all of that, those are all different things that God gives us. Does the story stop there? Yes or no? No? No, of course not. It goes outward, if that makes sense. And we go and we live a life righteously before different people that are around us. What are some of the people that are around us? Marriage.
that we're in a marriage study right now. That makes sense. What are some of the others? Community? Yeah, absolutely. Got any specifics for that? Family? Yeah. neighbors, friends, coworkers. Every person that you meet is an opportunity to
Witness to the incredible love that God has shown you. And it's not just limited to people either. It's also, how you, it's how you interact with creation. God bless. There you go. I'm acting righteously. I said, God bless you. There you go. But no, it's all about, it's how we operate in the world the way that God wants us to operate. It's all about being a good witness to the incredible love that God shows you. Living as a Christian, you should act differently than the rest of the world around you, especially in our marriages, if that makes sense, especially toward the people that are in the marriage with you. You should be an incredible witness to the love that God shows you. Now, a lot of people will instead try to put spouse on a pedestal, and that is where they get the majority. I'll draw another person. Here you go. And that's where they get the majority of their meaning. Trouble is with that is that, spouse can't take the weight. It can't take the ability to, be put on that pedestal to be the highest value, if that makes sense. Key point in spring is to make sure that God stays where he belongs as the highest value of our lives, and we don't put anything else above him, in place of him, anything of that nature. Can I do that? Can I do anything to earn God's favor? No, of course not. It's all about, it's not when we do good works, when we do good things, it's not about pleasing God at the end of the day. Granted, I'm sure he is. It's all about being a faithful witness to the people that you are around in your everyday lives, primarily in your marriages. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this, I would say, is having the right attitude for life. And now we're going to go into having the right actions. Different ways that we can explore being good to other people on this line. A couple of big theological terms for this. This is called, I can throw Latin on the board. That's fun. This is called coram Deo, which basically just means righteousness before God. Coram is before, Deo is the Latin word for God. Righteousness before God, it's all passive. It's all God doing stuff for me. And then this line down here, this other kind of righteousness is called coram mundo. And that is righteous before the world. Mundo is the Latin word for world. Coram is before. It's how we're supposed to operate before the world, the different people that we interact with. Does that make sense? Hopefully it's pretty simple. I don't know. And if you think about it a little bit, it's a good purpose for life right there, if you think about it. And it speaks into every friendship, every relationship. Every person that you meet could be fit into this framework, which is kind of cool. But yeah, actions of spring. What did I write down? Right, that's right. So with spring, we're talking about having new habits, new beginnings, all of it. So as you're on this horizontal line right here, think about the different people that are in your lives. Well, it's a marriage study. Think about your marriage. What is a new habit, a new way of thinking that you know will benefit your spouse?
answer for yourselves. I don't know. But what are different ways that you can think of that, your spouse would enjoy, would appreciate all of it? Now, with all of this,
it's about making sure that your spouse is fed. The word that the book uses, the marriage study book, which is right here. We didn't introduce it, but it's right here. But the word that Gary Chapman uses is nurturing, making sure that your spouse is fed. Now, you do a good job of that, but it's a different, I know, it's a good time. But yes, she started making bread. It's awesome. But it's more than just that. What are good actions that you can, I didn't put that up there. What are good actions that you can take to help fill the needs of your spouse? You are you're their person in life. You're able to be that person that can help provide for, help take care of, feed lots of awesome bread to, I don't know.
but it's just all these different
Opportunities that you have to be able to fill the needs of the other person that's in your life. Group discussion for you guys. If your spouse is right next to you, that's even better. But think about it. What does your spouse need? Go ahead and talk about it with your spouse if you're right next to them. I don't know, a minute or two. Go.
bring it back. Anyone willing to share what your spouse needs? If not, that's okay. I'm taking your private too. Yeah, go for it.
Ours is both time.
Yeah.
So just time with each other.
Yeah.
Time in conversation, time just alone without kids. And
How many kids do you guys have?
2.
You're still on man-on-man coverage. That's good. No, absolutely, yeah. And that's, well, a primary relationship is spouse, but primary relationship is God. Then spouse, and then, yeah, kids will take up all the time in the world. I have no clue what that's about, but like, we'll find out. I don't know. But, yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine. Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Anything else? Yeah, okay. Anything else?
Yeah, something from last week that we kind of ended with is the demands that children have on a marriage, right? And how they try to prioritize your marriage at the right times and in different seasons of that where the kids are more demanding, different phases of raising the kids. But so being intentional of that with your relationship during that time with God and then with your spouse is that's critical. I'm curious what people do in the room who've been married for a while, they can give advice to those who are in spring, what they do when that starts to change.
Sure.
What advice does anyone have in the room where you can, it starts to creep up on you and you're truly drifting apart, you're not allocating any time for yourselves. What changes have people made to bring themselves back to some of the springtime?
Anyone have good input? I got a framework I can throw at you about at the end. Yes.
I don't know, Don, if this quite answers the question, and Joel's not here, so I could say what I want. But honestly, I think the way we tend to nurture each other and bring back that is covering the to-do list. Like some morning, like this morning, it's like, what did your spouse need from you? Well, this morning he needed me to put the PDF file together so we could send it off to where it needed to go. But it's like that dumb stuff. It's like, can you please pick up X, Y, and Z from the grocery store? Can you call the plumber? Can you do this? Like just knowing that someone else has it covered and you don't have to deal with it, it really does. And it's the teamwork aspect of it that, you are together in this that does tend to help bring you together.
Absolutely. Operating from a good,
I want to use the word united front. There's something with that. Being able to know, like, yeah, that's my person. I can count on them. They will have my back no matter what. Absolutely. There's something very strong to that. Anyone else? Yeah.
I think just acknowledging it, it gets really easy to just kind of get into the day-to-day routine and, oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Oh, we'll talk about it later. And next thing you know, 3 months have gone by and, that's so easy to happen because you're go, 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 go all the time. We live in a society of instant gratification. All demands need to be filled right now, and it's extremely overwhelming. So just acknowledging it and saying, oh, shoot, like, we haven't had a real conversation in 3 months. We better sit down and have a real conversation, is huge.
how many of you guys feel hurried on any given day? Raise your hand.
Every day.
Hurried, I think, is one of the devil's best.
Straps. If he can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. Yeah. And put different things in your life that, well, don't necessarily matter as much as the other things. And it's very easy to fall into that trap of like, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many things all the time. I'm like, is this really adding value to my life? Yeah. And I have to stop and think about it. And I do it at work and I do it at home and I have to cut things out all the time.
Dead on. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Please.
I think for us, it's learning how to communicate what it is that you need and to figure out what as individuals brings you joy and fills you up, because if you don't feel filled up or, like you have your space to be you, it's really hard to bring that then to marriage, to kids, to, everything that's going on. And so we've learned saying, hey, here's what I think would be helpful for me to go work on me.
Yeah.
And then you can come back,
Absolutely.
build in the way that you do.
Dead on. Well, Don, have you ever covered the 5 love languages in here? Or no? Yeah, that is a very helpful framework to be able to, hey, what your spouse wants. What are different ways, to help make sure that your spouse is cared for, all of it. I mean, those are all good ways. There's others out there. I won't say that's the best the only answer, but it's a good answer out there. And yeah, be able to communicate, express what you want, what you need, all of it. Yes.
I would say that for Carla and I, we've been probably through all of these seasons multiple times in almost 25 years. I think that speaks directly to what Don was asking. I think in those seasons where we have had those ups and downs, I think we can acknowledge that that's where we've maybe fallen away from our time with God or our relationship with the Lord, where we've let other things come before that time. And you know, it's different in whatever season you're in, like children, medical thing, like it doesn't matter what the issue is really. You can expect to go through all of those seasons, but again, it's like going back to, okay, the foundation, let's go back to what do we need to do first? And
Yeah.
it usually we'll start with, let's get back to doing some Bible time together, or let's bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And it's pretty much cyclical. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
For us.
No, that's perfect. My goodness. That's a good segue to where I want to go next. But is there anyone else that has something to share based off of what Don said? Please.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like one of the things like about marriage is that marriage is a priority. It's next to your priority with God, but it's the easiest priority to borrow against. And it's the toughest priority to pay back that you borrow against.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I don't know. They tell us this at the seminary because, believe it or not, as a pastor, you end up spending a lot of time at the church, different things like that. I don't know. But they say there's a lot of different people that could fill the role of a pastor. You only have you have a spouse. That spouse can only be married to you. You're their person, and fill in the blank on whatever that is. There's a lot of different people that can fill different roles that you do, or men is particularly work, but it's all about your spouse at the end of the day. No one can replace your spouse, which is so. Now, to give you guys
Framework, it'll help, but you guys are already leaning that way already. How many of you guys have ever heard of a concentric circle before? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, cool. So at seminary, they teach us. Now, I drew up here this vertical line. How do I order the different priorities that I have in life on this vertical line? There's a lot of different people that I interact with on any given week. I don't know. I hope you guys do too. I hope you're not hermits. I don't know. But like, there's a lot of people that you interact with in any given week. So the best way that I can think of to order them is as follows. There's different relationships that you have, but not all relationships are created equal. Some are much more important than others. Anyone go shooting? Anyone do archery in here? I'm just curious. Yeah. Think of it like a target with a bullseye. I mean, you have at the center of the core, the bullseye, the thing you want to hit every single time. The thing that you need to put the most attention and the most important relationship in your life. Who is this person?
God. Very good. Jesus.
Excellent. Right outside of that second ring, who is that person?
Wife. Spouse. Dead on. Yeah.
Outside of that, what do you got?
Munchkins. There you go. Yes. Family. If you have kids, definitely children. If not,
Different extended family, but I would say children. And then outside of that, you got extended family, extended fam, and then outside of that, you got work. Outside of that, this is getting to be a big target. There you go. Society as large. You have neighbors. You have your citizens of a country. Those are all different priorities that you have in life. Now, here's the trick. Every single one of those relationships matters, and it's all something that you need to be at least paying attention to. But a good way to frame your life, frame your time in particular, is to realize where are you spending the most time of your life? Where are you spending the most energy, the most effort, those different things? And you should always be aiming primarily to the center outward, if that makes sense. Take a stock of your time. How much do you spend, on the fringes of the target? How important is that? How important should you be spending time with your spouse instead? How much important should you be spending time with God? What are different ways of spending time with God? We read our Bibles together every day. Right now we're working through Hosea. that was very interesting to be preparing a lecture on spring while also reading the prophet Hosea. But yeah, but those are different intentional things that we can do to help, aim yourself into the important relationships that matter the most and that hopefully help you live a good and fulfilled life. I mean, my goodness. Does that make sense? Any questions on that framework?
Well, where are your friends on there?
Friends?
Yeah.
They're gone. Friends.
I'd throw them between work and extended family, something like that. I don't know. Friendship is a key thing in the church that we should all strive to do. I don't know. We're realizing as we're getting away from college stuff, it's really hard to make friends in this world. I don't know. I don't know. Small groups are a great way to do that. I don't know. You have different kids that are in classes with each other. I mean, that's a good opportunity. Oh, the kids like each other. Let's hang out. I don't know. But like those are different key things that are really important to be able to cultivate all of it. A good friend is worth its weight in gold. I mean, yeah. Very good. Any questions on that? We're running, well, we want to have some discussion questions, but now we've been talking at the same time on the same pace. But yeah, please.
I'm going to add to that the small group. Looking back over the years when our kids were little, I think that was like the glue also to have the church community. We all had small children at the time, so we kind of like did life together.
Yeah.
The ups and the downs, and it also creates accountability. So I would think that for the younger people, I would say that is really important to invest your time.
Yeah.
Because it also strengthens your marriage and it also models for your children.
Yeah.
So I think that was super important for us.
This isn't biblical, but I'm going to go on a tangent.
For a little bit off of this. There was an Atlantic article about a year or two ago, but it had this concept of what was called a lanai. I think of it as like a tribe, a group of people. It's what came to this conclusion that this nuclear family, you think father, mother, children, is the, well, how did they describe it? Weakest but successful structure to be able to produce good children for the next generation, if that makes sense. If you lose one of the other two, one of the spouses, it's going to be much more of a struggle. Now, just having that singular nuclear family, yeah, it can work, but it's going to put tremendous strain on it. When one's down, the other one's got to pick up a lot more slack on all the rest. And then, well, there's going to be a challenge. What's really important is to have other people in your life. In previous generations, it was often extended family. We're much more transitory as a culture in this day and age, so that's not always a realistic option. So being able to form yourself with good peers that are around you is incredibly beneficial to, well, forming of successful marriages. I got to find success. Forming faithful marriages, that's a better word. Forming faithful children and all of the rest. Does that speak to what you're saying? Yeah, please.
I'm going to agree with her because we were in some of the same groups. MOPS for me, not called MOPS anymore, but for MOPS for me was a huge thing to have at the beginning of the kids and just forming our faith with the kids and listening and sharing with the small group. So I 100% agree with her.
Absolutely.
That helped us, like, just sharing ideas on how to share God with our kids when they're so little and stuff like that. So, and for us as a couple, it was nice to have couples share stories.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Please.
And the interesting thing about small groups is when you think about it, it kind of leverages all of these things, right? You focus on God, your spouse, your friends, others all at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's having accountability as another key.
It keeps you on pace. It makes you actually, strive to be a better person. Yeah, your spouse does that, but it's helpful to also have with additional people as well. And that's probably the seeking help when needed piece that I threw up here as well. Communicating, we touched on that as well, being able to communicate expectations, what you guys want, different ways that you can have your spouse fed, different things of that nature. These are all actions. We're a bit off field, but that's okay. I like tangents. But these are all different examples of what spring entails. And particularly, it's immediately when a good new habit is started that you start to reap the rewards for it. But yeah, you want to say something? Okay.
You're welcome to.
I'm good.
All right. We got 10 minutes left. Downsides of spring. Any questions on this slide before we continue? Threw a lot off to you. Okay, cool. Downsides of spring. So the book liked to call it poison ivy. Any gardeners in here? Anyone mess with poison ivy? Yeah, that ain't fun. But no, it's like different things where you don't realize that it's annoying in the moment, but then over the course of time, it's like, man, that really gets on my nerves. I don't know. We've thrown it up there a couple times. So we grew up in different family systems. I grew up in a family system where it was okay to have shoes on in the house.
He was raised in a barn, for anyone
Yes, there
wondering.
you go.
But
So,
yes.
And Emily, my
Yeah.
lovely wife, grew up in a family system where it was preferred not to have shoes on in the house. So what happens at the end of the day, we have an apartment, we have a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm like, all right, I'm going to walk in, walk to the bedroom, which is on the all the way through the house, and then take my shoes off and then put them away in the closet or somewhere on the floor scattered around because I'm a slob. And then that would be an example of poison ivy, of a habit that I do that is causing strain for my spouse. So what do you do about poison ivy? And as I can see the chuckles in the room, I don't know, maybe I'm hitting something that is common. I don't know, something like that. But
Well,
yeah.
the other thing to point out with poison ivy, that as gardeners know, it's one of those that it can quickly spread if you allow it to continue to spread. Right? Like you think about it like with a child, like they're going to constantly scratch and then it just keeps going. The same is true for the bad habits in our marriage. If you continue them, it's just going to spread to bigger and bigger things. How many of those little, the arguments don't creep up overnight. They are built over many, many things. It's, you didn't take out the trash. You didn't put away your shoes. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. But again, minimizing them and attacking them as needed.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I don't know. 2 strategies to share about how to keep on guard for poison ivy. Number one, back to communicate. Share your irritations with your spouse. She tells me when I'm walking in, it's like, honey, take your shoes off, please. There you go. Yeah. And it's like, oh, right. I'm sorry. I don't live in a barn. That's good. But yeah, share irritations with your spouse. I just swept, those things, those common things. But if you don't communicate the irritation, I'm clueless. I would never have known. But yeah, because I grew up in a barn and I didn't know any better. So yes. And then, of course, both but got to be open to change. You can't go into it being like, I'm right, you're wrong. You got to be able to lay out what you think, why you think it, and then come to a consensus about, what really matters. Because it's, important to do. So, yeah.
It's shoes at the end of the day.
Yes.
I'll mop again. It's fine.
And I will save time for my wife by taking my shoes off.
I would recommend you heading up the floors. So we kind of had a similar. So now, like, you will still sweep and stuff, but like I am the person that mops. And then it puts it in the forefront of my mind that the floors need to be clean, and so I have learned. It only took about 9 years to take my shoes off. So I'm a little good luck, but.
You writing that down?
Yeah, I joke, but I'm also kind of serious. Yeah, get one of those Swiffer things. It's not that bad. There you go. There you go. I like it. But yeah, so.
I think what's funny is when the irritations, they just kind of, they change day to day, but especially when your kids are little and then sleep is not as great as it should be. And then all of a sudden, breathing is really irritating. It's like, oh my gosh, I woke up at 3 a.m. and we were just breathing so loud. I couldn't sleep.
I love you.
I'm also laughing because our 6-year-old was complaining about her brother's breathing the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's starting.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I'm working on breathing quiet.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think the way that you share your irritations
Makes a huge difference if you communicate it in a, hey, I'd like to share this with you because it's bothering you. Then your mouth might be open. If you go, yeah, this is annoying.
If not, it's like,
Yeah.
if not, it's like you're holding a cup of poison.
Hoping that the other person gets sick. I don't know. It's like you're holding it on. No?
It's
That was a bad
analogy.
analogy?
Why are you so dark?
I tried. All right. But no, it's like you hold on to it yourself. It bubbles up. It boils over. You're struggling with it all yourself. And then you can't share it. You can't share the irritation with others. You got to be able to share. You got to be able to communicate with the other. My goodness. You're right.
Well-
Bad analogy.
Well, at the end of the day, it also goes back to the attitude, which I hear is a lot of what you're talking about. Is again, like, you can put things in a very harmful, negative light. He comes in with the shoes on, and I just come out with a fistful of rage. Or you could say, hey, let's try not to do that. It's a lot like parenting.
Humor too, like, hey, barn boy, come on.
Yeah.
I think but it's so much easier to, if you're being playful about it and,
Play is so important. Yeah. Keep things serious.
Well, we first 2 weeks talked a little bit about it, and this is critical early on in marriage, which is really hard. And I think I said it last week, was fighting fair. You have to learn how to fight fair right away. Otherwise, it creates division rather than unity. So, and if you're not going to fight fair because you want to tear the person down, they're going to know that immediately, and you're going to start to fracture the marriage.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of those, again, it's not us against us. It's us against, sin, all of that, not one another.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
fight fair.
And fight fair.
Fight fair.
And forgive. Got to forgive. My
Lots of
goodness.
that.
I don't know where I heard it from. It was, I don't know. You can train out bad behavior. That's a really good thing. But
No,
what?
train up good behavior.
Train out bad
There you
behavior.
go. Oh, you said
I can enunciate.
There
I
you go.
promise.
There
Yes.
you go.
You can train out bad behavior.
Yeah.
You can use the law for that. But at the end of the day, the law primarily is a mirror. You can't use a mirror to wash yourself clean. The only thing that's going to be able to wash you clean is forgiveness. The only thing that's going to be able to heal the relationship is being willing to forgive. Saying the words, I forgive you, not saying it's okay, it's fine. That's not forgiveness. That's the cheap way out. Come on. Say the actual words, I forgive you, and then move on. It's so important. And that's incredibly important to everything in life. That's why we do it in church every Sunday too. It's those intentional words. But yeah, so. Questions I got 2 minutes before I gotta make sure you go get your kids and stuff. So we got two discussion questions here for you. Which one was better? Well, this one up there. We're gonna do this one. Seasons change, and coping with a fading spring can be difficult for an unprepared couple who thought the season would last forever. If you're willing, share insights about how you've dealt with the change of seasons in marriage.
Kind of already touched on it too.
Did?
But yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always good to reiterate.
Yeah.
We, with our careers, when we went into our careers, we made a point of not letting it affect our marriage. And so we preemptively started marriage counseling. And it's probably one of the greatest things we've ever done because it helped smooth everything out. And now it gave us like the groundwork for the fair fighting, how to talk to people, and just also like having that structured time of now we're addressing issues in this set time with the moderator. So like in our lines of work, it's super common to get divorced. So we're like, that's not gonna be us. We're gonna go ahead of it. And so like before we even had issues, we started, and I would highly recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, that kind of like Tara said, it how things can get stretched out for 3 months and you don't even realize that it's affecting you. If you have that set time or once a month or every 2 weeks or whatever, it's when you're going to have this dedicated time. It's not like you're carrying it with you. It's, hey, we're going to talk about this and we're going to work through hard stuff, which is great.
Well said. I think that's a good note to end on. If you want to add to close. Excellent. You want to close this in prayer?
Okay, cool.
Go for it.
I got you. Cool. Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for all you give us, especially your Son, in whom we know what love is and that we get to share it with the people we love, particularly those we're married to, children, and all the rest that are that you place in our lives. Abide with us during this week. Help us to think less of ourselves and more about the people that we are nearby. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all. Amen. Thank you guys very much.